Hi everybody, and welcome back to Nitty Knotty Hand Dyed Yarns. Today I'm going to go over the magic circle with you, and then I'm going to go ahead and go into a granny square, because that is probably what I use the magic circle for most often. That and hats, but I've seen the magic circle done several different ways. The easiest way that makes the most sense to me is to put the yarn there in my hand, wrap it around, cross it over, and then bring it around again and just anchor it with my thumb. Now that doesn't matter. I don't care what you do with this dangly yarn back here, but this crossover is important. So that's important there. Okay? So just hold that there, and then we take our hook, slide it underneath the first one, grab the second string, and when you bring it through, turn it. Okay? Now I'm going to hold on to this section here and just take my hand out. So you'll end up with a dangly piece here and your working yarn coming through the loop. That's most important. Okay? Now I'm going to hold that to anchor it. There we go. And I'm going to chain 3. And then I'm going to make 2 more double crochets in this loop here. It's going to feel a little bit loose and kind of sloppy because the circle is going to be moving around on you, but I promise it'll work out. It'll make sense. Okay, so we're considering that chain 3 as 1 double crochet, and then we have 2 more. So now I'm going to do a chain 1 and do 3 more double crochets into that loop. Oops, there we go. 1, 2, 3, and then chain 1 and do 3 more double crochets. Then chain 1 and 3 more double crochets. And do one last chain 1. Okay? Now we have all these stitches here, and then we have this tail hanging off the end. Just pull on that tail and it will close your circle for you. Okay? You can pull it as tight as you like. I like mine to be real tight, so it's totally closed in the center. And then just tuck that behind your work so you don't accidentally use it for your project. Now we already did that chain 1 space, so we're going to slip stitch into the top of this chain 3 that we did to start. There. So now we have 4 triple sets of double crochet. So 3, 3, 3, 3. Each one has a single chain in between. Those where the single chain are is going to be the corners. Okay? So now to do round 2, you'll chain 3. And we're going to go ahead and do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets just in this chain one space. Don't stitch in between those three double crochets, only in the chain one space. So 3 double crochets, chain one, 3 double crochets. Okay. Now we're going to do that again in the next one. So don't do a chain here. We're going to go right into 3 double crochets, chain one, 3 double crochets in the next chain one space, not in between our double stitches, just in that chain one space. Chain one, oops, 2, 3. Okay. And again, we're going to go to this next chain one space. We're going to skip over all of these double crochets. In this next chain one space, we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain one, and 3 double crochets. Okay. Now we're back at our original corner where we started. So we're skipping over these 3 double crochets. Normally we would do 3 double crochets, chain one, 3 double crochets, but we already have this chain 3 that counts as that first double crochet. So we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain one, 2 double crochets, and then slip stitch into the top of this chain. So we have 1, 2, 3, chain one, 1 and 2. Wait, nope, look at that. I messed it all up. What are we doing here? I messed it up. See how easy it is to get messed up there? What I did was chained in here instead of in here. So let's start that over. 1, 2, 3, chain one, 1 and 2. That's right. There we go. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this chain. Okay. Now I know that's a big gap there. It'll be okay, I promise. So we have our 4 corners and we have gaps in between. So how do we fill that then? We're going to chain 3 and then we're going to do 2 double crochets right into the gap below our chain. Do not chain 1. You're going to go right into the next chain 1 space and do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and chain 1, 1, 2, 3. Now we're only chaining 1 in the corners, but now we have another gap in the middle. That was not a chain 1 space, but it's a gap. So again, we're going to skip over the double crochets and just do 3 double crochets right in that space. 1, 2, 3. Skip over these double crochets, and then now we're in a corner again, so we'll do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, all in that same space. We're on our chain 1. And 3 more double crochets. Okay. Now again, we're going to skip those 3 double crochets, and we're going to just do 3 double crochets in this space. That's not a chain 1 space, so that's a side. So we're not going to do a chain 1 in between the corner and what's going to be the side or straight side of our square. Okay, that's what helps keep it square. Do not chain, just go right into that next corner, and we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. Whoop, my yarn's taken off on me. Here we go. Oh, wait, did I already do that? Let's see. I did. Okay, there's my double crochet and my chain 1. Now 3 more double crochets to that corner. Okay, now we're back to a side. So there's no chain 1 space here, so we're not going to do a chain 1 space. We're just going to do 3 double crochets right into that space. And again, no chain. We're going to go into that corner and do 3 double crochets and then a chain and 3 double crochets because we're making that corner. So that extra chain 1 is only for the corners. And you're only doing the 3 double crochets twice in one space on the corners. That's what makes that corner. Okay, so now we've got a nice little square going, and then this section here is already 3, so we're in the middle. We don't need a chain 1 space. We're just going to slip stitch to the top of that chain 3. And that's that. Now when we chain 3 again, because if you look at where we're at, so when we chained 3 for this stitch here, we were on the right hand side of this gap. So we went ahead and did our 2 other double crochets into that gap and continued around. When we do our chain 3 to do the next row on this one, you'll see we are on the left hand side of this gap. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave that there, and we're going to just start with 3 double crochets into that next gap. It'll make sense when we get all the way around. Okay. Now this is our corner. We can tell because there's 2 sets of 3 crochets into that, or 3 double crochets into that space. So that's our corner. So we'll do 3 double crochets and a chain 1 space, then 3 more double crochets, all in that same space. 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay, so that's that corner. Now, these 2 spaces are not corners. So we're not chaining 1, we're just doing 3 double crochets into each of those spaces. So 3, and we'll do 3 into this one. Okay, now we're onto a corner because we can see that there's 2 sets of 3 double crochets going into the same space. Actually, that one has 2. I messed that up, but there should be 3. Anyway, it's a corner. So we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1 space, and 3 double crochets. No one will notice. It's fine. Okay, so that corner is done. Now we're back to the side where there is 2 spaces, but neither one of them are a corner, so we're not doing any chain ones. We're just doing 3 double crochets into each of those 2 spaces. So that's 3. Oops, there we go. Now we're to a corner because we see 3 double crochets 2 times into the same space. So we'll do 3 double crochets, a chain 1, and 3 more double crochets all into that space. It's kind of repetitive, and once you get the gist of it, it's just the same thing over and over. It's really not overly complicated. It's just getting started and making sure that you're putting your corners evenly around so that it's easier to follow and not wonky. That's really the biggest part. Okay, so then, and my center got loosened up too. Let's just tighten that up. There we go. Okay, we're back to a side. So we have 2 gaps here. Again, not a corner. So we're going to just do 3 double crochets in each one of those spaces. Okay, now we're at a corner. Again, 2 sets of 3 double crochets. So we're going to do 3 double crochets, a chain 1, and 3 double crochets all in that space. Oops, there we go. Okay, now we're back to where we started this row. So here is our space, and we started with this chain 3, which is going to be considered 1 double crochet. So I need to do 2 double crochets into this space, and then slip stitch to the top of the chain. Right? Okay. And there is your basic granny. Okay? Now you just keep doing that same thing. Each time you do an extra row, you'll end up with 1 more gap on the side. You'll continue to do the same things on the corners. So, you know, the first row we had 1 in the middle, then we had 2, and in this row we have 3 plus the corners. So as it gets larger, you'll have more of the middle ones where there's no chain 1 space. You'll still have 4 of the corners. Okay, you can make it as large as a blanket, or you can make them really small. You can use everything from lace weight yarn and make teeny tiny squares all the way to super bulky and make really, really big squares. You can even change this up to make those, what's popular now is the granny hexagon cardies. So the change you would make is when we started going into our circle, we did 4 sets of 3, each with 1 single chain in between. So if you wanted to do a hexagon, you would do exactly the same thing. You would just do 6 sets of 3, each with a chain in between, and then work it exactly the same way. So you'd end up with 6 points instead of 4 corners. And then in between, still do the exact same thing. Okay, and then that would make a hexagon. You make it as big as you need it, and then 2 hexagons are sewn together to make a cardigan, and that's how those work. So that's your basic granny square, and I hope you enjoy. Happy stitching!